Hello, it's John again, and I'm just going to, because of all the lockdowns, quarantines, and all that other stuff like that. A lot of people are working from home. One of my working from home is doing sort of like different kind of therapeutic kind of groups for certain kids. And I found a book. I read a book so far over this quarantine that would be something that I would share with the class anyway. Someone's freaking out a little bit. I left the room for 30 seconds. And and I would share this for a couple reasons. One, part of it for the American history part of the class, as well as some things need to be taught differently than they traditionally are, so to speak, as well as for the sort of social and emotional sort of stories and illustrations that they have. The book I'm going to read from is called The Lakota Way. It's by Joseph M. Marshall III. And the reason, and I'm going to read parts of this, I'm not going to read the entire thing, because he's kind of got it broken down to certain things that he has as important to his people: humility, perseverance, respect, honor, love, sacrifice, truth, compassion, bravery, fortitude, generosity, and wisdom. He's got intros and afterwards and other things with that too. A lot of this it's kind of formatted in a way where he's got a sort of traditional story, and then maybe a story or two that are a little bit more contemporary, possibly with him involved, that kind of correlate, and then kind of expounding on those uh, those attributes and those things that are he's trying to illustrate. What I'm going to do with this, I'm not going to read the whole book. I'm just going to read out the sort of traditional stories, the ones that the grandparents and the great grandparents would have told down through the years. So it's not going to be the entire 220 some odd, 230 pages with this. It's just going to be each of the traditional stories read out. So, so that's The Lakota Way by James M. Marshall III. Another book of his I read about last year is The Journey of Crazy Horse, which is also very good, and had some info. Excuse me, just worked out. Had some info in it and some story stuff that usually isn't found in some of the other books and narratives about either Crazy Horse or the Lakota and everything going around that sort of latter half of the 19th century. I'm kind of reading rainbowing this, but a really good one to really sort of expound on that is this. It's Crazy Horse, the Lakota Warrior's Life and Legacy. Um, it was told to a man named William B. Matson by the Edward Clown family. The Edward Clown family has come out because they were sort of they talk about it was like this is kind of the time for them to do that. They're related to Crazy Horse. Um, Through that, they've been kind of keeping a low profile for the past 100, 150 years or so, for obvious reasons, uh, given the history and everything else like that. So it goes into talking about a couple of generations before the famous Crazy Horse, and kind of how that name is kind of a family name that will be passed down generation to generation as well. Really gets into the famous Crazy Horse, and then the family even afterward. And they go around, and both men go around and give a lot of lectures and talks, talking about the book, talking about the legacy and the the life and sort of tragedy of everything, and not only of Crazy Horse and the Lakota and their family, but just everything in general with that whole time period for the past like 400 years. With that, it's, if you do get a chance, they have it There's a couple different ways they list it. There's actually a Facebook group that they have. You might even look up to Shunke which is Crazy Horse in Lakota, and they'll give kind of um, tell you where they're going to be, when they're going to be. They might even have video clips. I think there's actually like maybe even full video stuff of some of the talks and everything that they give. There's question and answer stuff in there too. I went there with a very, very close friend of mine, and he and I both both of us got a lot out of this book on a lot of different levels, and we got a lot out of that talk on a lot of different levels too. So highly, highly recommend it. Kind of passing on and sharing the uh, the kind of truth about some stuff that gets literally and figuratively sort of whitewashed or manipulated by the winners who write the history. Quick recap of other books if you're interested in sort of indigenous American culture, especially that sort of mid to late mid to late there we go 19th century. A lot of that the plains things and everything like that. Uh, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, pretty famous. D. Brown uh, writing that one. That one's again pretty famous. There's what's the other one? Hold on, I got a couple more on here, and I literally just remembered another one that I had read. No, squash that. Listen to on audiobook. I'll be honest with it. I listened to it on audiobook, but it was really good, and I really liked it. But as I'm looking, that of course, there's Black Elk Speaks, as sort of told through John Neihart. Excellent, 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 amazing book. This is really deep in a lot of ways too. Has got some. It's just really, really an amazing book in a lot of different ways as well. Really gets into oh, my buddy's kids from a couple years ago. Gets into Black Elk's life, and that even goes into the 20th century. And he went even to Europe and met Queen Victoria and all this other stuff, but also talks a lot about some shamany stuff in with it too. So that's going to be definitely something I'm going to get into. I don't know why this isn't showing me my stuff. But yeah, it's excellent, excellent book. Hits a lot of boxes it ticks. That one for me, Black Elk Speaks. I know a couple other people who are big in with that too, and it really is just an amazing book. Reads quickly, reads well, and is really good. I'm not finding this, and I'm really sorry. This is sort of dragging. I don't know. I thought I was a lot closer to the top, so let me do this. Another one that I have, and I know a couple other people have this as well. Sorry, just getting that in there. Try and find it. It's called Touch the Earth. This is very good as well. It's compiled by T.C. McLuhan. And what it is, and you can see, it's kind of quotes, like real short sort of stories, a couple things that are kind of explained about who some of the people are, and then different things that are attributed to them. Again, this is another thing I've used for group, not only for the history aspect, but for social emotional sort of the treatment aspect as well, in a lot of ways. And it goes. These other ones are kind of a little bit more plains, Lakota, Nakota, Dakota, sort of focused, not Komsu. But it really had. It's really, really good. It's a little bit older, so it smells nice, and it really does touch in on a lot of stuff, historically, as well as spiritually, and talking about the kind of what was going on with things too. A little bit further to the north and west was Chief Joseph with the Nez Perce, and there's a book called Thunder in the Mountains. And it, again, I listened to the audiobook of this one. Come here, bud. Come here. You're pouting. You're pouting, little baby. I listened to the audiobook at this one, and I really liked it. I enjoyed it. And it kind of goes parallels and juxtaposes Chief Joseph as well as the General Oliver Otis Howard, who was the guy who was kind of like the nemesis with him. So those are just, if you're interested in some Indigenous American books, those are some of the ones I've read. I got a couple other ones I know I've read in the past and everything too. But those are the ones that I think within well, Touch the Earth I've read probably 2, 3 times. It's been a couple years since I've read it, but these other 6 technically, if you count Thunder in the Mountains as having read it, those other 6 I've read in the last like 2.5 years. So, and I highly recommend all of them. Again, good reading. They're not difficult to read, and they are really informative and really good, really kind of heartbreaking in a lot of ways as well. And especially if you're interested in the spiritual aspect, the sort of animist views and the interconnectivity, and how they view and how indigenous people view that, then these are definitely really good books for you as well. I can't say anything about myself with it, even though I've got family that's been here since the Mayflower. I have no proof that I have even a drop of indigenous blood, so I'm trying to be sensitive to different things for it, and it's always been something that I've really connected with, and I'm sensitive to try not to make it, I don't know, even sort of culturally or spiritually kind of fetishizing it. I'm trying to be really sensitive about that, but it is something I'm drawn to. It is a people and cultures. We're talking about 500 plus nations in just the continental U.S. alone. And so you can't just say, them as one homogenous group, because it's not the way it is. That's incorrect. It's not a valid statement. Um, and but it is something I connect to. I feel sort of called to and for. And if I can help kind of just make my own practice of it better, and I'm kind of happy with it. And if other people get a certain appreciation or look at things a different way, as opposed to just the sort of, again, literally whitewashed sort of way it gets looked at, and think of things a little bit differently, then double bonus. So again, we're going to be reading the traditional stories from the Lakota Way by Joseph M. Marshall III.